More people every day are ditching animal products, embracing plant-based foods, and speaking up for what matters. With my experience as an international instructor for vegan nutrition and an award-winning author, I interview experts, innovators, and celebrities about the global movement towards a plant-based future. Do you want to learn how to combat the injustice in our food system affecting your health, the animals, and the planet? Well, you're in the right place. It all starts here with Eating Like You Give a Damn. Welcome to the Eating Like You Give a Damn podcast, the place to discover your passion for plant-based living one bite at a time. I'm your host, Stephanie Harder. If you want to create a personal transformation in your body's appearance, or if you're a coach who facilitates transformation in your client's health and appearance, or perhaps you fall victim to overeating or boredom eating, then you are going to eat this episode up because I get to dive deep into the mind of Ella Magers, an author and longtime transformation coach who's been named among Shape Magazine's 50 hottest trainers in America. She took first place in the bikini division at the Fame Fitness World Championships and has been featured on bodybuilding.com as Trainer of the Month. She is the bombshell behind the brand Sexy Fit Vegan. Ella became vegetarian at 7 years old and fully embraced veganism at 15. And just wait till you hear how her parents and the rest of her family responded to that. In this interview, we talk about how she up-leveled her activism by helping others feel empowered to make choices that align with their own values. And she lays out some important guidelines to follow to start building muscle as someone new to plant-based eating. And with so many popular diets promising health and weight loss, we discuss the difference between making food choices out of love for yourself rather than relying on willpower when it comes to getting results in fitness, and embracing what it means to be sexy while addressing body image and disordered eating habits. Ella gives away some incredible gifts for you in the form of tools that you can put to use immediately. So be sure to listen through to the end for that. Before we kick off the interview with Ella, I want to mention a free online community full of helpful and inspirational people who are rebelling against old food habits and making progress towards a fully plant-based diet for a variety of reasons, like health and wellness, a love for animals, and helping nature and the planet. If you're looking for recipes and support from a cool crowd of rebels, join us in the Eating Like You Give a Damn community on Facebook. Go to eatinglikeyougivadamn.com/group and request to join. And now on with the show with Ella Magers of Sexy Fit Vegan. All right, Ella Magers, Miss Sexy Fit Vegan, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you for having me, Stephanie.
I'm so excited that I got to meet you in person. This was back in the fall of 2018, you were speaking at the Seed Summit, and I totally felt a connection to you right away as soon as I saw you start speaking from the stage, because you have a martial arts background and so do I. So we're a couple of blonde chicks that like to kick ass.
Yes, I love it.
I know. I kind of want to kick this off by kind of starting out with where you were before you started your vegan journey. So what your diet was like before you headed over to Veganville. And then what was that moment that really got you to start that switch?
Well, Stephanie, that was a very, very long time ago. I was actually 7 years old when I stopped eating animals and 15 when I went totally vegan. So before that, it was, whatever my parents threw on the plate. But what happened was when I was 7 years old, I got in the car after school one day and my mom had picked me up to take me to gymnastics practice as always and asked me how my day was. And I told her that we learned about this guy named Daniel Boone. And if anybody doesn't know who Daniel Boone is, he is one of our first American folk heroes. And he carried around a shotgun and he wore a raccoon hat. And I said, Mom, this guy was not a hero at all. He was so mean. He shot animals and he ate them. And my mom was really honest with me. And she said, well, Ella, we are just very fortunate. We get to go to the grocery store nowadays and just pick up our meat there. And it was at that moment that a light bulb switched on in my brain. And I connected the food on my plate with the animal that it was. And I was horrified. And I looked at my mom like immediately and said, Mom, that's it. I'm never eating animals again. And that was it. I never ate another animal. And I remember going through school, really making it a mission because I couldn't understand why people would eat animals when we have so many other options.
Yeah.
And I got along fine without it. I ate sides from, whatever was on the dinner plate for a while. And then slowly my whole family ended up turning vegetarian and then vegan after me. But I couldn't understand. So I made it my mission from a really young age to educate people about what was going on. Really, when I started to get a little older and understood the cruelty behind the closed doors of factory farms, I really made it my mission, my life's mission, to spread that awareness and help people make conscious choices.
So I find that really interesting that at such a young age that you were able to understand that consuming animals just didn't resonate with you, like with your soul. And so what was that like for your family when you had that moment of realization at such a young age?
Yeah, I think they kind of thought it would be a phase. Kids go through phases. But my dad had a history. He had been vegetarian in his past and he was Buddhist. And so he kind of had that connection already. He had just kind of lost it. So he started moving in that direction, and he liked to cook tofu and, Asian style in a wok. And so he started cooking, and then my family loved it. And my little sister went vegetarian next. And then again, as I got into my teenage years and really did the research, I really got into the activism as well. For many years, I led a lot of protests, and I sat in cages on the side of the road demonstrating the cramped conditions of factory farms, because in my young mind, the only reason people would continue to eat meat was that they didn't know. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize that not everybody was ready to know.
Right.
It's much easier not to know, because once you know, you can't not know anymore. And ignorance is bliss, right? I mean, that's a very, very fair statement. So when you can't use ignorance as an excuse anymore, most people really do have a heart for animals and say they love animals, but don't quite make that true connection between, their pet and a pig on their plate.
Sure. Now, where were you living at the time when all of this transpired?
I was in Chapel Hill, North Carolina.
Ah, okay. And now you're in Miami.
I am. I've been in Miami for 16 years, where it is warm year round. I love it.
And it's probably a lot easier to find lots of different variety and vegan fare there, right?
Well, interestingly, Chapel Hill is kind of like an island in North Carolina, a fairly conservative state. We're a college town, and we actually had quite a progressive, lots of health food stores, and it actually wasn't that hard in Chapel Hill. Thank goodness. I was very fortunate to grow up in that area. And Miami was very slow to join this kind of mainstream vegan movement. I think because there's so many cultures here, and a lot of them are South American, and it hadn't quite filtered into Miami until fairly recently. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting.
Yeah. And what did you find, like, on that journey, were some of your biggest challenges? Like, did you have like a really big fail that you had to overcome at any point?
Well, I was also fortunate, and in my opinion now, that back then we didn't have any of the vegan junk food or vegan processed foods that we have today. And believe me, I eat those things now as a treat. And I have my vegan wings on Sunday and drink a beer and have football, watching football. But when I didn't even have the choice, and I felt so strongly about the ethical side of it, I just automatically had to eat whole foods to survive in a way.
Yeah. And thrive probably, right?
And exactly. And so that was kind of just what was available. So I didn't think twice about it. I ate to fuel my body, and I did a lot of sports. I was a gymnast. I was a swimmer. I got into volleyball in high school on the competitive volleyball. And so I really did have to fuel my body. I had a lot of muscles to build. And, I prided myself in fifth grade. I did more pull-ups than any of the boys in my class. And
Woo! You go, girl.
yeah, thank you. It is all, building muscle. And now it's very cool to be able to say, I've built my physique, I've built my body on plants since I was very young.
Yeah. So then you probably came up against quite a bit of other athletic people that just couldn't understand how you were able to accomplish this on a 100% plant-based vegan diet. So, like, what was some of the pushback that you were getting? Probably the protein thing, right?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. So I moved to Miami in 2002. I was 22 years old. And I had kind of jumped into the fitness industry. I knew my life's purpose was to save animals through helping people go vegan. But at that time, I didn't know how to make a living from it, of course. So I jumped into the fitness industry. I was managing gyms, and I was a personal trainer for many, many years. And so, yes, the fitness industry is still behind when it comes to being open to building muscle, and the fact that you can be absolutely fit and athletic and build muscle on plants alone. So what my kind of secret weapon was keeping my body really fit and strong. Luckily, I loved to work out. I loved to lift weights. I loved to go to the gym. Thank goodness. And so people would ask me, and they said, wow, how do you get that physique? Especially women would be like, I want your body. And so it was this perfect advertisement for me to be able to tell them, well, I'm vegan, and I have been for, however many, 7 years. When I was 22, and I already been vegan for 7 years. So people would be open to it at that point because I had something that they were striving for.
Yes.
And so it was really a great way for me to be able to, even though I wasn't directly working in the vegan industry, it was a great way for me to help introduce that idea and open people's minds just by being me, really.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is so cool because listeners, oh my gosh, when you see this woman, she has a brick house body. I mean, washboard abs, absolutely gorgeous, such amazing muscle tone. And that comes with a lot of dedication and hard work. So I think that's such a huge inspiration for even a lot of vegans, particularly who are looking to attract more people. I like to call it the attraction marketing, so as opposed to the typical activist, because that does work with some people, but for some people, maybe not so much. I know for me, it was very difficult for me to even engage in certain conversations with heavy meat eaters. I mean, I came from, eating meat for many, many years. It wasn't until, my late 20s when I kind of had that epiphany and started changing. But I think I went through that whole period in time where it was kind of like I really wanted to get more people on board. I just wanted them to know because I felt very robbed of the right information that would really resonate with me as far as what I could choose to eat and what not to eat. But, being able to be that kind of inspiration for other people, and you just totally fit that just by looking at you, which is incredible. It was something that for me, I want to strive for that.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And I think what you said really will hit home for a lot of people. Once you discover, what's going on, it's very frustrating to know that you went so many years without that information being readily available. And that's very frustrating to a lot of people. And, the way I've helped people make this transition has changed dramatically over the years. As a teenager, I really was into the activism because, again, I thought it was just that people didn't know and they could switch just like I did. I was able to change my actions or change my behavior to match my beliefs. And I did it with the snap of a finger. I just said, I'm doing it and I'm doing it. That's not the case for everybody. And I was very young too. So it gets harder and harder as you get older and get more, have more habits that are harder to break.
Mm-hmm.
So I did the activism, and then I really led by example. And now I'm more into an empowerment mode of helping people. So I've definitely done a lot of growing myself in so many ways as a human being, and to be where I am today, which is really feeling empowered myself and helping other people feel empowered to make those choices because they love themselves, they understand their values, they want to be aligned. And so, yeah, that's how I've kind of transitioned how I help people.
Yes, totally. I love it. And we're, as we close out, we'll definitely talk a little bit more about how you are helping people, because I definitely want to float people your way, who resonate with your message, which is amazing. Let's talk nutrition a little bit. And so we're talking fitness. Let's talk a little bit about the nutrition for maybe some people that, they do want to live a more empowered and fit lifestyle, but they're new to the whole vegan thing. What's some of the advice that you would offer them if they just start to, they just want to start putting on muscle, shed some fat and all that good stuff, and they're just starting out with their vegan diet?
Well, I would say that for a lot of people, the transition, it's helpful if it's a slower transition. So what I like to recommend for people is to really start to add to your plate. So adding as many whole plant foods as possible to your plate, starting with greens. Dark leafy greens are going to be, some of our most nutrient-packed foods, beans, legumes, fruits and vegetables, seeds and nuts, starting to add that to your plate and have them start to crowd off the stuff that you're so used to eating that's been your staple, so that you can create a new set of staples. And why I say that is because, a lot of people get very overwhelmed trying to figure out all new recipes and new meals to make. And so I like to talk about creating your list of go-tos, and then to stock your kitchen full of staples that you can, at any point you're hungry, you can hop in the kitchen and you can throw together an easy meal in 10 minutes to make it easy. And then to really focus on the whole plant foods, also knowing that it doesn't mean you can never eat a vegan burger, a Beyond Burger, any of those things. But what we like to call them is transition foods or treat foods.
Yes.
So not to have those be your staples, have the whole foods be your staples, and then add in for fun, these things. And depending on how fast you want to get to where you want to be, how sustainable you want to make how you're eating. So it's very individualized, but there are some base kind of, I don't call them rules, but just some foundational information and systems you can put in place to really help. Like for breakfast, my go-to, it's kind of weird, I don't really eat breakfast foods very much. So it's chickpeas, hearts of palm, avocado, and some sunflower seeds with a little olive oil and herb amare seasoning, which is my favorite seasoning salt. And that's it. It's like this delicious, nutrient packed, and it keeps me sustained. So I usually work out in the middle of the day. So I can eat that at 8 a.m. and I'm good till after my workout at 1 p.m. If I need something in the middle, I throw in some fruit. I love pineapple for that extra energy. So really creating your kind of go-tos and then adding variety.
I love that. And it just kind of reminds me of, the way I used to start my day, growing up in on the Southern typical American diet, right? So It would be like the bacon, the eggs, the sausages, the heavy breads that are highly sweetened or pastries. And it's so interesting how I didn't realize how much that was weighing me down at the very start of the day. Now, today, it's much, much different. And you sound like you like your savory breakfast too. So that's pretty cool. We got that in common. But the difference in just switching from those heavy animal foods to something much lighter, something that comes 100% from plants, really changes the body and your response for the rest of the day. So I love that.
Yes. It's all about the energy and how you can fuel your body to give you just the maximum energy. And the great thing about eating plants, and the other tip I'll just throw out there, if you don't mind, one of the things that really helped me with my digestion was when I started to really be mindful about chewing my food.
Mm.
And that seems so obvious, but we have to chew our food to some degree. But for the most part, the majority of my life, when I figured this out, I realized that I was kind of scarfing down my food. And it was causing me bloating. And there was some, because a lot of people will find they have some digestive issues that they're confused about at the beginning. And I think that chewing your food to a paste, as gross as that kind of sounds, before you swallow it, it has made all the difference in the world for me. And so, yeah, I just want to throw that out there, because also for my clients, like, it's just made a massive difference in how they feel.
And that's got to be so hard for people to even remember to do, because we're just so used to just that hustle and bustle of getting from one thing, one busy item to the next, that we just sometimes are like scarfing down food in our cars. We're not really like taking the time to enjoy it, much less chew it.
Yeah. It's so true. It's so true. We are such an on-the-go culture, and food is included in that.
I agree. So as far as like, the nutrition is concerned, why do you think that there are so many mixed messages today? Because I know that, like with all of the doctors that are available to us that are promoting and advocating for 100% vegan, whole food diet, we have such an amazing experience right now where we have all these doctors that are teaching us the stuff and relaying to us what the actual research and the studies are saying. But I know that, being vegan for as long as you have, you probably didn't have that information so long ago. Mm-hmm. So why do you think there are so many mixed messages about food today? I mean, we've got paleo, we've got keto, we've got high fat, low carb, we've got all these different diets now. Everybody's so confused. So why do you think that is? And then what would you say to the people that are still kind of like teetering around with, well, is this vegan thing a fad too?
Very good question. I think there's the vanity metrics of this whole thing, and what can get people to have that body that society says we should have as quickly as possible. And I think that is very possible with a lot of these plans, with the keto and with the paleo. You can achieve, if you are strict with it, you can lose body fat very quickly. Now, what that's doing on your insides, and thinking about what your goal is. As the older I get, I know, and for most of my clients who are a little older, it's like, I want longevity. I want to feel good. I want to be able to be active. I want to do all the activities that I love to do. I want to feel good about myself and feel energized for the rest of my life. And those are two very different ways to look at how something's going to work for you. So first, there's, I think, the why. Why are you doing? Why are you looking for a certain diet to follow? Is it because you want to get quick results, or is it because you want to be healthy really from the inside out for years and years to come? And I think when people start to really look at that, they realize that the important thing, and this is why we have so many yo-yo dieters, right? Because they drop, but these things aren't sustainable when you're strict as you are, and you don't feel good, and you're lacking energy when you don't have complex carbohydrates in your diet, and you're not feeling good. It's not sustainable. And so people bounce back to worse, feeling worse off than they were before with these other type ways of eating. So with a whole foods, plant-based or plant exclusive, I like to call it, diet, it's really, there's no cholesterol. I mean, cholesterol, what's our number 2 killer now? Or is number 1 or number 2 is still heart disease.
Yes.
And plants do not have cholesterol.
Right.
And so we look at the things that we're dying of in this country, and it's heart disease. And eating a plant-based or plant-exclusive diet is going to dramatically decrease your risk of heart disease. So I think considering the why, and knowing that there's also, if you have the why of being compassionate to animals and caring about making a difference on our planet and the environment, watching documentaries like Cowspiracy and Earthlings, and of course Forks Over Knives and What the Health, and all these things will add up. And I think that's a really great way for people to start to see what's going on, is by watching these new documentaries that are coming out pretty often. And they're really powerful.
it was interesting to me as I had my wake up call. This was back in 2009. I had read a book called Skinny Bitch.
Mhm.
And that just sent me spiraling into, okay, now I have to uncover everything that's going on in the food industry and the drug industry, because this is affecting not just me, but it's affecting the people that I love, that I'm watching, that are suffering. It really got me thinking about the fact that we are surrounded so much by all of this advertising and these marketing schemes. And we're just so used to it, so it's funny because my husband Dave and I tell him, I'm like, when we cross the threshold of our home, we are back out in normal, quote unquote, normal society, where we're constantly seeing all of these marketing messages that are not promoting a healthy way of eating and living. And it's no wonder why people don't understand fully like why this is making everyone sick, why they don't feel good on a regular basis.
Yes, well, the animal agricultural industry is so massive and has so much power in this country, still gets subsidized, that's the messages we see. We're not seeing commercials for broccoli, and hopefully we will soon, but these are not the advertisements we're seeing. And somehow, they got us to believe without a shadow of a doubt that we need animal protein to be healthy.
And we see those happy cows on those farms too. That's going to make us feel better.
Yes, and in the kids' books, you grow up thinking that these are happy animals, and the marketing out there has just it just hasn't changed all that much in terms of what we're still seeing, although there is all this research now, which has actually been around for a very, very long time. Again, we just are not seeing it. It's not making it to the mainstream like the got milk, ad campaign. You saw that so much growing up, at least I did,
Oh, yeah.
that you thought you were going to die if you didn't drink milk.
Exactly. Especially when all of our favorite celebrities are the star of the show, telling us to drink our milk and eat our protein.
No, you just don't question it. It's presented as if it's fact that not only is it healthy, but that we need it to survive. Mm-hmm. And that's powerful messaging. They're very, very good. There's a very good marketing team for them, but it's not helpful to us. It all comes down to the money.
And being able to, like I talk about with that attraction marketing method, being able to hopefully be that person that people will want to talk to and uncover this type of information, kind of unfold it for them if they're open and willing to hear the message. But what do you find on a regular basis as far as when you're communicating to new people that you meet about what you do and why you do it, and they see how amazingly fit you are? Do you find that they come to you very curiously and really want to know and start thinking about making some changes for themselves?
Yeah, so I think how I kind of live my life now and how I promote my message is really more about me in terms of sharing my life. Because when people see but are not being pushed, they don't get into that defensive mode. Mm-hmm. Because change is scary to people. Change is uncomfortable. So the fear of change is very strong. So if you're feeling threatened, like somebody's going to tell you, you have to change after 40, 50 years of eating a certain way, that can be really, really scary to people. And with scared, often comes anger to cover up the fear. So the way I do it now is very different. It's more by sharing how I live, how joyful I am, how healthy I am, how fit I am, and then opening the door for questions and for support. So yes, people are, and sometimes it takes a little longer, but people do just start to get comfortable that you're not pushing them, and then start to come to you and say, well, how do you do that? I heard this. I heard that you still have to have animal protein, and then I can just calmly answer with the facts. I also have vegan tattooed on my arm. So that's
that's a good conversation starter right there.
I did that so that it could be a conversation starter, and because it's really who I am. identify with my choice. And it's also spiritual for me. So it's a very strong. And yes, I suggest people watch documentaries. That's a good one. Then it's not just coming from me. That's one person. They can hear it from lots of different doctors and researchers as well. The other thing I'll say is that a lot of people will jump to, well, I could never do that. I could never be totally vegan. Mm-hmm. And my first response is, you don't have to. And they're like, oh. So I like to say, why don't we make a step in that direction? See how you feel. Because once you start to feel better, then you're also open to the ethical side of looking at things. And when you start to feel better, you start to get more motivated to make more changes for yourself, not because you think you have to, but because you want to, because it makes you feel good. So easing into it I think is really important for a lot of people.
I think that's so important for people to hear too, because I think that we're still up against this, cultural way of thinking where vegan, it's very popular right now. It's catching fire because, the health is really like starting to, be in the limelight, the health aspects of it. But for people that maybe don't necessarily feel a connection to animals the way that some of us do, they can provide that pushback right away as soon as they hear, oh, vegan, oh, no, that's not for me. But it's not just about that anymore. It's predominantly about, being compassionate to the other beings. But we've just opened up this whole new avenue with being able to promote the health aspects and do it confidently, not just based on, how we say that we're eating whole food, plant-based, and we feel better and we just, probably don't suffer from disease, or certain diet related disease, I should say.
No, I think that's all really, really accurate. And finding out, asking questions, what do you care about? Is it your health? Well, let's talk about the health. I'm not going to talk about animals to someone who says they don't care about animals. So there's a reason for just about anybody to move in that direction and become plant-based or plant exclusive. And yes, the vegan word does incorporate the compassion. It's part of a lifestyle. It's not a diet. So if I need to say plant-based so that it's not so scary to somebody, that's fine too. Whatever for me, being that I'm coming from a base of the ethical side of things, whatever will help somebody stop eating animals, that I can throw facts at them that will help them make that choice, then I'm all for it. And they don't have to care about the animals. It's not for everybody.
Sure. And that kind of brings me to, the development of your business and your brand, Sexy Fit Vegan. Oh my God, it sounds so delicious, first of all. But when you were going through that process of creating your brand, did you ever, you mentioned earlier that the vegan, it's part of who you are, right? It's that's what resonates. But did you ever have that feeling of like, oh, should I say plant-based because it's a little bit more inviting as far as, talking about fitness and diet and lifestyle?
I did. Another really good question, Stephanie, because I absolutely did consider whether I should use the word vegan or plant-based, because especially now, this is 2013 when I created my brand. Vegan still had quite a bit of stereotypes surrounding it, and it still does, but even in the bigger cities. But I decided, because it felt true to me, and that if I'm going to be the face of this thing, I need to be as authentic as I possibly can. And also to be able to take the fear out of the word, or to help create new visions around the word vegan by the sexy and the fit part of the brand, to attract people. And yes, there's absolutely marketing involved why I used sexy, because I get some pushback about that to this day, or I didn't get it until the last year or so. I started to get people saying, why does it have to be sexy? And
what? You get pushback on sexy? I figured that would be the attraction.
Well, I think it is for a lot of people, but I think in this day and age that we're living in right now, there's a lot of sensitivity around sex and sexual orientation, everything having to do with sex. And I think that's what it's about. But for me, yes, it was absolutely, what can I name this thing? To be true to myself, to have fun, bring some lightheartedness around it. And yes, to market it to people, because my goal was to bring veganism into the mainstream, and sex sells. So yes, we're using the word sexy, and I'm totally cool with that. And for me, feeling sexy is something that you feel on the inside. It has nothing to do with what somebody else thinks about you. Like, who doesn't want to feel sexy? You want to feel sexy, and that's okay,
Yes.
in my opinion.
Hell yeah. I'm all about feeling sexy. I'd love that you put that out there.
Yes.
That's awesome. So, share with us a little bit about how you are helping people with Sexy Fit Vegan. I know that you have a couple of fabulous books and a program. Is that right?
That is correct. Yes. My main focus now is my 6-month plant empowered coaching program. So that's where I'm spending most of my time and energy, because it is a very powerful program, and it is changing people's lives, not just their diet, not just their exercise habits, but their entire lives. And it's so rewarding to me. I do have a book out as well, came out in 2015, called the 6 Weeks to Sexy Abs Meal Plan. What I like to describe it as a sample meal plan to help somebody get started, build a foundation, and then to be able to tweak it from there. And I do a lot of anti-diet work with people.
Love it.
So many women, especially women, men too, but especially women, really struggle around body image. And there's that lack of self-confidence, lack of self-worth. There's a lot of body shame in general that women are dealing with. And these things cause disordered eating habits and cycles. It causes self-sabotage. And it really prevents women, and I work mainly with women, so I'm just going to use them as the sex that I work with, but it helps them to step into their power and to really work towards their true potential. And you can't do that if you're hiding in shame, if you're hiding and don't feel good about yourself and think you're not good enough and can't do anything good enough. And that is just so common. And there's enough people that both struggle with those issues, struggle with the disordered eating, and are interested already vegan or are interested in transitioning to vegan or in that direction, to really have a very successful, very full program, which it's like a dream come true for me, Stephanie. It really is, being able to run this program, and it's just, I couldn't be happier.
I bet. I can see the glow on your face. I know the listeners can't see you, but I feel so blessed. I could see that glow on your face as you're talking about it, and I can feel that passion coming through. I think everybody who's listening can as well. So can you share with us maybe a client success story that, of massive, amazing transformation?
Oh, wow. Yes. Well, there's so many. Well, all my coaches that are working in the program now have been through the program and felt so strongly about it that they want to be involved. They call themselves lifers because they want to be involved with this for the rest of their lives. And one of our recent graduates, Jamie, she came in, she was in a really tough space. Not only was she not consistently eating healthy, so she had extra weight, carrying around extra weight, was low energy. She was also just down and out in her life. And she was living with her mom. She was a single mom. She was really struggling to find a job that would pay the bills. She just came in overall just really in a rough space. And she made a lot of sacrifices to be able to join this program because people do have to get resourceful to be here. And what we want is for people to come in and take this so seriously that they follow all the steps, because it is work. And I don't sugarcoat that, no pun intended, but it's work, because what we're doing is reprogramming our brains. And this applies to how we eat, how we move, how we exercise, our jobs, our relationships with ourselves and with others. So the tools that we learn, people learn in the program, help with all of those aspects of our lives. And she came in and she made the sacrifice to be there, and she came in and she followed the process. And within 2 months, she landed her dream job.
Wow.
Yes, she was dropping weight, eating consistently. And yeah, she landed not only her first dream job, a month later, she got a professorial job, which she had also been dreaming about. She's an environmental educator. All these things started happening. So, food it's usually for at least the women I work with, it's not about the food. It's about our relationship with ourselves and our relationship with the food and with our bodies. So we really have to address that. And then what I like to say is that we coach people to coach themselves. And that's why it's such an empowerment program, because people learn these tools to be able to take a step back, to become the observer of the thoughts that are not serving us, that are so programmed, so automated that we just move through the world not even realizing that we're talking crap to ourselves all the time. I mean, the way we talk to ourselves in general is we wouldn't dream of talking to other people like that. We are very, very hard on ourselves, very negative towards ourselves. And it keeps us down. It keeps us stuck. And so we really learn to become the observer and to understand our values, to start to create new thoughts that create new feelings. And new feelings allow us to have different actions, and different actions, of course, create different outcomes. And that includes weight loss, which we do not focus on in the program, but we call it a side effect.
Yeah.
Right?
I love
Yep,
that.
everybody has to put away their scales when they join the program, which is really hard for a lot of people.
How liberating is that? That is cool.
It is. It is. And it's just amazing. The women who come in that are carrying around scales. I've had women that come in carrying around scales to weigh their food on family vacations. And to be free from that, and to be able to feel good about your choices, and to be able to make choices that serve you, not because of willpower, but out of love, then it's because willpower always runs out. It's just
Right.
part of the human experience that we cannot just rely on willpower. There has to be something deeper. And so we really look at that connection and take it to a very deep level, so that and which is why it's so sustainable, and people just continue to have better results. They invite all sorts of love and abundance into their lives. I know when I needed 3 years to work on myself, Stephanie, without dating anyone, if we want to talk about the dating component of this, because Jamie also just found maybe the love of her life. And this is after 4 years. Her son is 4 years old, 4 years single. And so she's now invited love into her life. And this has happened to me as well. And I'm in the first really, truly healthy relationship that I think I've ever been in. And it all comes down to how you treat yourself, because how do you expect somebody else to treat you better than you treat yourself?
And what I think that listeners and most people would find so fascinating is that it's not just about the food. It's that deeper resonance, that deeper why. And it's probably what you achieve in your program is to pull that out of people, because people probably aren't signing up because they even know what they're dealing with. They just think that, that they know something is wrong, and they feel drawn to the vegan message, and they probably just want to see what you can help uncover to get them the results that they're looking for, right? Because those outside results, start from the inside.
Yes, that's 1,000% correct. We have a call before. It is an invitation only program, because I need to know not only that I feel confident that it's the best fit and that we can help somebody achieve a healthy, happy, abundant life, but also that people are ready to go there. Because as you said, a lot of people don't realize what they're going to dig up when they discover this. And we don't focus on the past, but it's important to acknowledge them. And so you understand how the place you're operating from, because we're working on changing your operating system. And so it's important to acknowledge that. And also, like you said, like people don't even realize how they're talking to themselves, how they are keeping themselves down. And I believe 1,000% in the law of attraction. We have a next level program after Plant Empowered Coaching Program, where we start to look into the science behind that, of epigenetics. We look into the neuroscience and quantum physics. We go to a deeper level because there is actually scientific proof that the law of attraction exists, that it works if you use it in your favor. So we take it there. And then we also, by the end, people are feeling free of all the stuff that's kept them down. Then we can start to look at also what's my purpose. And a lot of people aren't aware, and a lot of people feel unfulfilled in their lives. And sometimes that is what leads to emotional eating, or what people would call boredom eating, because we don't have that direction. And so then by the end, people are ready to start exploring that. And usually that involves inspiring other people, because they've come so far. It's like you just want to share that. And which is why now we have mentors in the program as well. Again, people that went through and said, I need to be involved. I want to help other people do what I did.
That's absolutely so wise and so amazing. And I'm totally on board with the law of attraction there too, sister. So it's amazing how that works. So as we come to a close, what words of wisdom would you share with people that are pretty new to the idea of switching or adopting over or leaning into a fully plant-exclusive vegan lifestyle and diet?
Well, a couple of things. I think first, looking at your why and understanding what's going to motivate you to make these changes. Because again, I acknowledge fully that it is very difficult to change your way of eating, a way of eating that you've been using for your entire life, right? So give yourself some grace. Look at the why. And for most people, it is the health, not everybody. Is it that you love animals? Is it that you want to do your part to save our planet? And then watch some documentaries if you haven't yet. I really recommend What the Health if you're interested in more of the health aspect, Cowspiracy if you're interested in the environmental impacts, and Earthlings if you're interested in the animal side of things. So get the why, and then give yourself some grace and time to start to make those changes one day at a time. Start to replace. Don't be afraid to use the transition foods if that's what you need to transition. If you're a burger person, my boyfriend now, he's a pizza and burger person, right? So yes, yeah, he is eating the Beyond Burger and the Impossible Burger. He made the transition just after we started dating, because that's what he needed to make that work for him. And just know that once you start, your taste buds will change. They absolutely change. I'm off sugar now, and refined sugar, and fruit does not count as refined sugar.
Yeah, thank you for making that distinction.
I love fruit. I promote fruit. Eat as much fruit as you want to. I don't even crave. I'm not using Willpower anymore. I don't even crave sugar anymore. And the same will go with animal products, but just know that there's physical addiction involved. Dairy is actually physically addictive. Sugar is physically addictive. So give yourself some grace. Do things one step at a time. Take it one day at a time. Also, be proud of what you're doing. I think a lot of people get very intimidated, especially when you're going out to eat, is a big concern for a lot of people. I'm going to be the weird one. I'm going to be the different one. No, you're going to be the inspirational one, right? And whatever you choose to eat there, people might ask, why are you doing that? And you say, here's why. And the bigger deal we make it, the more other people will see it as a big deal.
Right.
If you just look at it as part of your life and knowing that eventually you'll be the one inspiring other people, and be proud of it. Really stand up for yourself and your decisions, because you're making a really positive impact, not only on your own life, but really on the lives of everyone around you and the planet.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Ella, it has been absolutely a joy having you and talking with you today. You guys heard it here. Ella Majors, Sexy Fit Vegan. If you want to learn how to eat healthy and get a sexy fit bod, follow Ella at Sexy Fit Vegan. And would you share with us how people can connect with you?
Yes, absolutely. You can check out my website, sexyfitvegan.com. I also made a special link for you guys, you listeners, to get a few free gifts from me.
Woo!
So if you go to, yes, I wrote it down because sexyfitvegan.com/ELYGAD, right? Eat like you, give a damn, dash gift. And I've got several gifts, including an e-guide on how to create your own superfood shakes. I have a free master class, which is transformational. And I also have access. I'm going to give you access to over 30 video trainings by me that will give you some of these really powerful tools that we've been talking about today.
That is incredibly generous of you. So I know listeners are going to absolutely eat that up. So thank you so much, Ella.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Stephanie. It's been such a blast.
That was Sexy Fit Vegan Ella Majors. Don't forget to follow her on social media and make sure you let her know that you heard her here on the Eating Like You Give a Damn podcast. That link again to get access to all of her amazingly valuable gifts is sexyfitvegan.com/ELYGAD-gift. And of course, that stands for Eating Like You Give a Damn, ELYGAD. But we didn't want you to have to type so much, so we will embrace the ELYGAD acronym for many of the links that are for you from our guests. If you are enjoying this podcast, I would love it if you could subscribe and leave a review. Your words will help so many people who are looking for this kind of content to help them decide to listen and subscribe. Another thing you could do to help me spread the message is to take a screenshot of this episode and post it to social media. And when you do, don't forget to tag Eating Like You Give a Damn so I can share your post as well. Thank you so much for listening, and until next time, veg on, rebels.